Technology is evolving. Artificial intelligence taking over the world. It has made its way into our homes, into our hearts, and into our buttholes. And it turns out the most popular text-based AI, ChatGPT, has the ability, no surprise, to rank albums of different artists, if you ask it. So that's exactly what we're gonna do. We're gonna ask it albums of artists, rank them, and I'm gonna see, based on my professional opinion, if it's right or not. This will truly determine how smart AI really is. God, I sound like a fucking loser. Alright, right off the bat, rank the Beatles albums. Also keep in mind that this AI only has knowledge up to the end of 2021 or something. I don't know why, but so some albums, I'm sure, from some of these artists are gonna be left out. Anyways, number 1, Abbey Road. That's not too hot of a take. I wouldn't hardcore disagree with that. I mean, personally, it's not my favorite. It's maybe my top 3, maybe even top 2. Not my favorite though. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. In my opinion, this should probably be at number 1. Revolver at number 3. That doesn't surprise me. I think Revolver is just a little bit overrated, but hey, I'm just a kid who's in the year 2023 as opposed to when this album came out. Look, I can think of a couple other more experimental albums from 1966, but hey, I mean, Rubber Soul at number 4. Now that I do not agree with at all. Rubber Soul is a great album, but it's not their 4th best. Come on. Definitely not better than the White Album. White Album should be higher than that, at least. Help at number 6. Fine. I disagree. That's fine, though. Magical Mystery Tour at 7. I get it. I disagree, though. That is my favorite Beatles album. But for the sake of public opinion, I guess that makes sense. Then A Hard Day's Night, Please Please Me, and Let It Be. Yeah, that's a good last 3, I think. Overall, definitely not bad. Could use a little work in my opinion, but when you're looking at it from the perspective of public opinion, this is fine. This is fine. Rank the Radiohead albums. Similar to ranking the Beatles albums, ranking Radiohead's albums is subjective. Hooey. Alright, so we got OK Computer at number 1. That's to be expected. Personally, Kid A is my favorite, but we'll let it slide. That makes sense. Kid A at number 2, that's a good take. In Rainbows at number 3, that's also a good take. I think those are definitively their top 3. The Bends at number 4, absolutely not. The Bends is a good alternative rock record, but it does little of sticking the band's foot in the door, of reaching out and becoming a truly explorative band. It's good, not number 4. Amnesiac at number 5. Good album, but it's definitely not better than some of these other ones. It's not better than Hail to the Thief. It's not better than A Moon-Shaped Pool. Both of those albums should be higher than The Bends and Amnesiac. Amnesiac does have some banger tracks on it though. Maybe my favorite album closer of any Radiohead album. And King of Limbs and Pablo Honey at the bottom. Pablo Honey at the bottom makes sense. King of Limbs, I wouldn't have been mad if it was a little bit higher. I think it's a little underrated. But yeah, no, I'm a little lukewarm on this one. I think it's okay again, but the Bends at number 4 is no. That's unforgivable. So yeah, AI is not completely smart yet. So we're figuring out still. That's okay. We'll get there eventually. Rank the Strokes. Oh shit. Is the Sid at number 1? Absolutely correct. Definitively correct. No arguing there. This is the first number 1 that I completely 100% agree with. Room on Fire at number 2. Okay, but The New Abnormal is better in my opinion. Speaking of which, The New Abnormal is at number 5, and that is, again, unforgivable. Wrong, just downright wrong. Angles at number 3. No. First Impressions of Earth is probably better. And why is Angles on here twice? Angles is at number 3, but it's also at number 7. It makes more sense at the bottom. Honestly, I probably would put Angles ahead of Come Down Machine, but they're both okay. They're both fine. Yeah, not a good list. This one's even broken. Is the Sid at number 1? That was a good take. Rank My Chemical Romance albums. Alright, so we got the Black Parade at number 1. This was actually originally my ranking in my original worst to best, and honestly, you could probably put any of the first 3 albums in any order, and I would not argue with you. They're all fantastic in their own ways. In my personal taste, I would put Bullets at number 1, 3 Cheers at number 2, Black Parade at number 3, but once again, you can mismatch them and I'd be fine with that. They're all very good. Danger Days has to be number 4, though. I'm sorry, Danger Days. I love you, but come on, you're not as great as the other ones. And then, I guess it's including Conventional Weapons as well, which I'm kind of surprised by, but yeah, that makes sense that it's at the bottom. This is probably the most conventional ranking as far as MCR albums goes, so, you know, this is fine. Yeah, this is good. Rank Green Day albums. Now this should be interesting. Alright, as expected, we have Dookie and American Idiot at 1 and 2. I'm not really gonna argue with that. That's the general consensus. And honestly, I'm not even sure what I consider my favorite Green Day album anymore. It's like a toss-up between like 3 or 4 of them. Nimrod at 3 is a great take, I think. Insomniac at number 4. Grant. This is actually a really damn good list so far. Okay, but this is where it falls off. Warning at 5 and a 21st Century Breakdown at 6. It's not even on here. Okay, so it's missing 2 albums, from what I understand. Well, it's also missing their latest album, which I can't even think of the name of right now. Father of All. That piece of shit doesn't even deserve a spot on this list anyways. But Kerplunk isn't on here, and that's top 3 album for me probably, of theirs. So I'm trying to wonder like where they would put that had it been on here. Probably ahead of Warning, at least. Honestly, this list is not bad at all. This is a pretty good list for what's included. Rank the Ween albums. I broke it. It's having a tougher time ranking the Ween albums. It's just really, really thinking about it. They're all just so good that it has to think really long and hard. Freedom of the body. Freedom of the mind. Alright, it's basically done. So number 1 we have Chocolate and Cheese. I think that's probably 3rd place for me. The Mollusk at number 2, in my opinion, that should be number 1. Number 3 is White Pepper. Okay, alright. Look, White Pepper's got some nice songs on it, but it's towards the bottom for me. It's too straight. It's too straight edge. Quebec at number 4, that should be number 2, behind the Mollusk in my opinion. Pure Guava, okay, I think God Weed Sane is better than Pure Guava. The Pod isn't even on here. That should be ahead of Pure Guava as well. I don't know if I like Godweed Sane or the Pod more. They're really close for me. But I think Godweed Sane should be ahead of Pure Guava. Golden Country Greats, I guess it makes sense where it is, but I feel like it should be higher. I prefer that over Pure Guava as well. And La Cucaracha at number 8, last place, and that makes sense. Yeah, again, not the best list. Moving on. Rank Weezer albums. Alright, I already want to vomit looking at this. Alright, it's clearly missing a lot of albums. Let me see if I can fix this. Hold on. Well, let's judge it as it is first. So, first is the Blue album. That makes sense. Second is Pinkerton. That makes sense. The Green album is not number 3. That should be way, way down the list. It's boring. Everything Will Be Alright in the end of number 4. Yeah, but no, not ahead of the White album. The White album should be all the way up at number 3 or even higher. The Red album after that, that's a pretty decent take, and Hurley after that. Yeah, those two, honestly, those two together actually kind of makes sense in this case, but the Green album, if we're just doing top 8, the Green album shouldn't even be on this list. Maladroit might just make the cut, but maybe not though, because we're also not including OK Human here, clearly, and that album should be all the way up there too. Higher than Everything Will Be Alright in the end, in my opinion. I'm gonna try regenerate, maybe I'll just do, write a list of every Weezer album ranked. Alright, this one's just a straight up list, so maybe it'll include more. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Okay, this is better. It's got 18 of them. Let's see what it does. Let's see how it does this time. Blue Album number 1 makes sense. Pinkerton number 2 makes sense. Everything Will Be Right in the End at 3. Better than the Green Album, but no. The Green Album at number 4, absolutely not. Maldrate number 5, no. Way more down. Weezer album, the White Album, number 6, no. Send it up there. The Red Album at number 7, maybe if you mix match this whole entire thing. Hurley next, honestly that's kind of based. The Teal Album at number 9, absolutely not. Send that shit to the bottom. The Black Album at number 10, absolutely not. Send that shit to the bottom. Van Weezer in the middle, kind of makes sense. Radiohead at number 12. Okay, what the fuck is going on after this? Radiohead at number 12, that shit should go to the bottom, but I don't even know what's going on below it, so honestly, I don't know. Make Believe below it. Honestly, I think Make Believe's better, for sure, but if you put it below Radiohead, I completely understand. Pacific Daydream, also, I think Pacific Daydream has more highlights than the other 2 records I just previously mentioned, but honestly, I get why it would be at the bottom. And then again, the Green Album's on here, except it says that it came out in 2008, which it did not, and I don't know why that's there. Maybe it's confusing it with something else. I don't know. Death to False Metal, technically not even a real album. And then there's 2 different versions of the Red Album, so I don't know. AI is not that smart, guys. Come on. Rank Bright Eyes albums. All right, number 1, I'm Wide Awake, It's Morning. That's my number 2. I understand why they would put it at number 1. It's their most popular. It's a great album. I'm okay with this. Fevers and Mirrors at number 2. It's a good album. I disagree. Okay, Digital Ash and a Digital Urn. I think that album's a little underrated, and I do like it quite a bit, but it is not number 3 by any means. That is a terrible decision. Lifted should be number 1. That shouldn't be number 4. Especially not behind Digital Ash. Casadega at number 5. Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like we're missing. Alright, so Letting Off the Happiness here is saying that it's a self-titled album, which it's not. As far as I know, I'm pretty positive it's not. Anyways, that album should be top 3. I think it's Lifted, Wide Awake, Letting Off the Happiness, then Fevers and Mirrors, then probably Digital Ash, then Casadega, then honestly, I think, yeah, I guess The People's Key would be ahead of Down in the Weeds. I wasn't really too impressed with Down in the Weeds. It was actually, it surprised me a little bit, but for the most part, it wasn't incredible. So yeah, another list just absolutely botched by some crazy placements. Rank Taylor Swift albums. Oh, I can tell ChatGPT is an absolute Swiftie, and it's having a really hard time ranking her albums because they're all so perfect. All right, number 1 is Red. I highly disagree. Red, I was really hoping to like that album, but it's kind of a mess. It's all over the place. Far from one of her best. Far from her worst, but far from her best. 1989 should be number 1. Just a great synth pop record. Folklore at number 3. I think that's understandable. I think that Evermore is better. Speaking of which, it's at number 6, which I disagree with. I think it should be ahead of Folklore. Probably at number 2, I guess. Then Speak Now, and then Fearless. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm kind of torn between whether or not I like Speak Now or Fearless better. They both have some great songs on them. Both have some great energy and are super catchy. So those 2 back-to-back make sense. We got her self-titled album at 7, and then Lover at 8, and Reputation Holiday Collection. I don't even know about that one, but yeah, Reputation at the bottom. Great take. Album is one of the worst albums I've ever heard in my life. Lover is very boring. I understand why that's towards the bottom. I think it's better than the self-titled debut album, but yeah, these bottom 3 make sense. I think to a lot of Swifties, this list probably is a very good one. Probably. So, I mean, if aiming at Taylor Swift fans, this is probably right. But if you're aiming it at me, I disagree. Rank, Dashboard, Confessional albums. Alright, straight away, the places you've come to fear the most at number 1. Great take. Swiss Army Romance at number 3. That should be switched with a mark omission, in my opinion. But I guess I can accept the top 3 here. I think Swiss Army Romance and Places are really, really, really close, but Places I think comes out on top for me, especially with those last 2 tracks. Those last 2 tracks are brilliant, like I said, a mark omission should be below Swiss Army. Dusk and Summer at number 4 makes sense, I guess, and then everything else I really do not care for, but that seems about right. So honestly, not a bad list. Not a bad list, not complaining. I'd switch a few things here and there, but pretty decent. Rank Muse albums. Okay, so right away I see that there's The Resistance twice on here, so that's funny. Anyways, Origin of Symmetry at number 1. That makes sense. I'm a little torn on whether or not I like Absolution or Origin of Symmetry better. I really like the raw energy of Origin of Symmetry. I really like the bombastic, like over-the-top production of Absolution and the concept and everything. Both have fantastic songs in them. I think Absolution is a little slow in parts though, so I guess I can accept Origin of Symmetry over it. Black Holes and Revelations number 3. That's right. Seems right enough to me. Resistance at number 4. Honestly, I agree with that. I think the Resistance gets a little too much hate. Drones ahead of Showbiz. Showbiz should probably be ahead of Drones. Drones is just a very mediocre album in my opinion. And then Simulation Theory at the bottom. I think the Second Law is better than Simulation Theory. I really, really don't like Simulation Theory. And then I don't know why the Resistance is on here again, but it shouldn't be at the bottom. I think Resistance is fine. Yeah, I think Second Law should be ahead of Simulation Theory. And then besides that, though, this isn't. And then Showbiz should be ahead of Drones. But the top 4 are good, so you know, not bad, I guess. Now, this, I don't know how the fuck it's gonna do this, cause there's just so many of them, but I'll give it a shot. Rank David Bowie's Young American, she was a young American, alright, she was a young American. I don't know what is going on here. I gotta regenerate this. Okay, now it's just naming them in chronological order. Alright. Straight up, I have not listened to every single one of David Bowie's albums. I know, fake fan. Cause there's just so goddamn many of them, and from what I've listened to some of them, it's just, you know, not really that great. Some of them, you know, so it's not really worth my time per se, but I know a good amount of them. You know, most of them, maybe half of them. He has a lot of albums. But from what I can recall, here we go. Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust, number 1. Absolutely number 1, without a doubt, in my opinion. Low at number 2. Okay, I know a lot of people consider Low to be his best album, and I haven't listened to it in a while, so my opinion might have changed on this, or I'll have to listen to it again to really solidify, but I can never really get that into Low personally. I don't know why. I don't know why I can't really get into Low that much. I know a lot of people say it's a fucking masterpiece though, and I know a lot of people even consider it to be his very, very best. So for the sake of that, I am not going to complain about his placement here. Heroes at number 3. Honestly, Heroes for me is one of my favorite songs by him, but the actual album surrounding it, as a part of the Berlin trilogy, it's not my cup of tea. Hunky Dory should be number 2 in my opinion. Station to Station at number 5 after that. That makes sense. Yeah, that's a pretty good take. And then Aladdin Sane. I might like Aladdin Sane a little bit better, but that's completely fine. That makes sense. Then Scary Monsters and Super Creeps. That's a pretty good take. Young Americans, then Diamond Dogs. Diamond Dogs is like, I love it, but I kind of get by that point, like the whole glam rock shtick is kind of wearing thin. So I got mixed feelings on it. Then Lodger. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Black Star should be higher. Definitely higher. Black Star is just, it's something else, man. It just represents so much, and the music is so out there, and it's just incredible that even on his deathbed, he was exploring new sounds and genres and styles, and exploring his own mortality. It's just, it's such a good album. Let's Dance at number 12. I guess that makes sense. I could see an argument for it being higher, though. Earthling next. Not better than some of these other ones, especially. It's not better than The Man Who Sold the World. It's not better than Space Oddity. Honestly, I wouldn't even say it's better than The Next Day. I like The Next Day. The Next Day has some good songs on it. It's a good return. I can already tell there's a few missing here. But I haven't listened to some of these. Heathen, I think, no, I listened to Reality. I don't think I've listened to Heathen. I've listened to all of them, like, briefly, but I can't, I haven't had repeated listens for a bunch of these. Well, I think that's gonna be it for this video. Yeah, the AI could use some work, and I think that's just not even coming from my personal tastes. It's just like, there's just some ridiculous placements that I think most common and diehard fans of these bands would agree are not where they should be. And on top of that, it's missing certain albums, and it's putting certain albums on there twice. It's naming them incorrectly. And they say this shit's gonna take over the world. I mean, come on. It can't, right? But anyways, let me know if you want me to make another one of these, and I'll name, or just give me some other bands, and I'll see if I can if I know them enough to do this.